Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, today we have Anna Valdivia on the line, and she is founder over at IntelliChoice Solutions. And this episode is part of our CPG Convergence Conference series, where we bring you the best of those that are attending and participating in the conference. And if you're new to this series or just tuning in, the CPG Convergence Conference is taking place on Thursday, June 25th. It's going to be in Los Angeles, California. There's a link in the show notes where you can grab tickets. I'm going to be doing live interviews from stage. We have panels, we have keynote speakers, we got booths, we got samples. Come out. We want to see you. And myself, I'll be there, of course, and so will Valdivia. So, first thing first, Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here, and I can't wait to see everybody at the conference too.
All right, so we got a great topic here. A lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of executives that listen to this show. So we're talking about strong finance foundation and why that matters at every stage of a business's growth. So I want to get into that, but first, I see the term here, founder. Tell me about yourself, like about your entrepreneurial journey. Where'd that begin?
Sure. About 3 years ago, I was at a crossroads in my career, and I just really took some time to reflect and saw a trend where I was working in accounting for over 20 years, but the
Mm,
last 7 or 8 really were in startup environments
yeah.
where I noticed that I would go in, clean up shop, implement systems and streamline processes,
Hmm.
and I would do it all over again, every 2 years. And
Yeah.
so I saw a real need for small and medium-sized businesses really to build strong foundations. And I really enjoyed the work. So I thought, well, why don't I do this for myself where I can really have a larger impact and help other small businesses, entrepreneurs that are trying to create something.
Yeah, what do you enjoy about working with entrepreneurs and small businesses? Because you didn't say this, I'm saying this. We could be a tricky bunch, right? What do you enjoy about working with that segment?
Oh my God, so much. I mean, there's so much passion, there's so
Mm,
much drive. I think really, the sky's the limit as far as creativity and just the energy that is behind a vision,
yeah.
especially for mission driven businesses. I really think that when someone truly believes in a product or a service and you can get a team behind that, really the sky's the limit.
And so, speaking of the team, let's go further down that path. A lot of people feel like, or a lot of founders feel like maybe their finances are handled once they have maybe a bookkeeper or QuickBooks is in place. Why isn't that the finish line? Like, what else is needed in that team?
Like with everything else in life, right? Your business grows and it goes through stages. So should your accounting, so should
Mm,
your finance function. At the very beginning, it's okay to start off with a bookkeeper. There's nothing wrong with that,
of
as
course,
long
of
as it's
course.
a skilled bookkeeper that understands the importance of building, a clean foundation. That's a
Mhm.
perfectly fine choice. But as your business grows, you're going to you as the business owner will be faced with different questions than you were initially when you were just beginning. And those questions will also transform. They will become a lot more evolved or complex in
Mhm.
nature. And having a strong foundation will only help support answering those types of questions.
And it's interesting when that you say that because it seems like, and I've heard many people say this in different ways, but like your finance side, maybe even your legal, like other things, like the larger the business gets, there's just more complexity. And maybe it's not nothing against an accountant, a CPA, nothing, but if the particular thing that you worked with in the beginning is not set to cater where you're going or possibly where you're at, depending on how big it's grown, like you got it, like there's some learnings to be done there, right? And the team, like you wouldn't like you may need to change some things. You may need to add on. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. Am I off on that, or can you elaborate?
No, you're absolutely on point. Absolutely. When you're initially starting, it's really more about survival, right? You want to
Yeah.
make sure that you're getting customers, that you're generating revenue, and oftentimes you're just figuring things out along the way. At that point, the finance function does not really need to be overly complicated. It
Hmm.
needs to be clean and intentional, honestly.
Hmm.
The way the books are set up, the way that revenue or expenses are tracked, and the way that cash is monitored all start to shape the decisions that business owners are able to make,
Yeah.
including those other, important partners, such as your attorneys, and such as your marketing team. All of those will rely on the information that you're providing them.
Mm. Can you talk a little bit on this is part of our CPG Convergence conference series. So of course there's the service provider side of things, but let's get into the CPG side of things. Like what are some of the things that those types of business founders should be thinking about?
Sure, I think, it may seem a little early on, but it's really never too early to plan. And you want to plan for growth. You want to
Mhm.
plan to determine if along the way you're actually profitable, with a specific SKU, for example, or a specific location. All of those are decisions that you'll want to know as you're growing because the earlier you can act on informed data, then
Yeah.
you can course correct or change direction altogether.
Where do people normally go wrong on this? Where do you see founders in the CPG space maybe go wrong or miss the mark that kind of costs them?
I think again, not having that strong foundation built
Mm.
at the very beginning and believing that they can prolong, really building a strong foundation can really throw someone off course because ultimately the price not having a finance function that evolved along with your business
Yeah.
is the lack of visibility, the lack of timely information that will ultimately impact those decisions that you're going to be faced with.
Yeah, and it seems like what some of the things that you mentioned when you're talking about like, okay, like the SKU or if it's not selling, if it isn't what or location or otherwise, like all of that, like the faster you can make those decisions, like time is definitely money on in any way, and we're talking about CPG in any way in the value chain. So combine that, but then also thinking about those resources where how could they be better allocated, whether it's marketing something that is working or the future R&D or whatever it happens to be, but it's like kinda like eliminating the waste so you could better allocate those dollars, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it goes back to the evolution of the function.
Mhm.
Is it able to support you throughout your phases of growth, Because initially, yes, it's about record keeping oftentimes. As
And
a
that would be
company
would you
grows,
categorize that as kinda like the early stage, it's just record keeping and maybe just kinda like how those
yes,
stages might look? How and I know it's gonna be different for every business, but high level.
sure. So at the beginning, the priority is usually basic structure. Again, clean books,
Yep.
accurate categorization, your monthly bank reconciliation, simple reporting, a basic balance sheet, a basic profit and loss statement, and just making sure that the owner themselves is also aware, of what's coming in and what's going out. Just
Mhm.
building that foundational literacy, if you will. As it grows, then booking alone is not going to be enough anymore at that point. The business needs to have better reporting, stronger
Mhm.
processes, more defined roles,
Mm.
and again, visibility into things like cash flow, margins. Are you actually making a profit? And then spending trends. That's really important. As well as internal controls. Oftentimes, when you are running a small operation, internal controls tend to get neglected, but those are super important as your business continues to grow because the owner is not going to be able to touch every transaction forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you go a little bit further to what that could look like, internal controls, just to elaborate?
Sure. Even with a small team, there's things you can do to make sure that the company's assets are always protected. You don't want to
Mm.
have, for example, the same person that is processing your AP issue the payments on those to those
Mhm.
vendors. Just really simple things that can make a world of a difference.
Yeah, especially as they stack or layer on over time, right? Because maybe somebody's
Yeah.
already doing something, and then you're like, "Oh, they could take care of that too," or "They could take care of that too," and you're not necessarily thinking about the risk on the back end of that, and that's where people are, worst case scenario, are blindsided, right? Or then something big happens that you're like, "Oh," that for you, for example, Anna, because you work in this day in and day out, you may be like, "Oh, that's obvious," or "Of course, that's simple." But for someone that's in the mix of it or a founder that maybe this is their first company and their first one that's actually growing to that next level of stage or growth. So they finally got a home run or a double or a triple and they're like, and now they're not used to that piece of it because in the past they did it one way, but that isn't going to work for this way, right?
That is absolutely right. That's on point, Adam. I remember coming across a situation early on at one of my roles, my past roles, where the past accountant was the jack of all trades, wearing lots of hats. And
Yeah.
the company had experienced some tremendous growth. And so the volume of just transactions that this one person was responsible for was pretty overwhelming, in all honesty. And
Mm.
so mistakes happen. And if you don't, in this particular example that I'm thinking of, is he actually released a wire of a significant amount to a
Wow.
fictitious vendor because he received a phishing email that if we had a second set of eyes on that, it could have been prevented.
Yeah. And you hear about that, and it's not. It's just saying that there's overload, right? I get it. That's a great example. And obviously, that's a worst case example. We never want that to happen. But if those layers go on over time, things aren't fixed, you do this, do that, that's just one of many that can happen.
Yes.
So I think that's a great example. Anna, this has been really fun having you on, getting to know more, but a little bit more about your world and what you do, and also some great examples of what we should be thinking about. Last question here: what are the type of businesses or industries? I know we talked a lot about CPG today, but just in general, what's typically a good fit to work with you and your team? Is it size of company? Is it industry? Is it small business? Give us an overview of that.
Sure. We are definitely, excited to work alongside with growing businesses or organizations. I Nonprofits are very close to my heart. I spent a long time, about 9, 10 years of my career in nonprofit. But there's
Mhm.
a lot of for-profit organizations, a lot of CPG companies that are really very, eco-conscious, that support really important missions. And so we are excited to support those types of organizations and just people that really see the value in what,
Mm.
the accounting function brings to, again, a business that is looking to scale and just really, reach new limits, basically.
Wonderful. If somebody's watching or listening to this, Anna, and they want to learn more about IntelliChoice Solutions, how do they connect with you and your team?
They can actually just reach out through our website at www.intellichoicesolutions, all one word, .com, or they can also follow us on social. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram and Facebook at IntelliChoice_solutions.
Fantastic. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we're definitely going to put some links in the show notes so that you can click on the link, head right on over and check out Anna and her team. And don't forget, Anna's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Come to the CPG Convergence Conference where growth, capital, and innovation come together. It's going to be Thursday, June 25th. That's in Los Angeles, California. You might be watching this on YouTube. You might be watching this on Apple Podcasts. You might be on our website. Wherever you're at, in the show notes, there is a link where you can get to this landing page for the CPG Convergence Conference. Grab a ticket. Love to see you out there. And Anna, looking forward to meeting you and seeing you at the conference. Thanks again for participating.
Thank you so much, Adam. This was wonderful. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with your audience, and we are super excited to be participating next week at the conference as well.